And now Robert Ray, who's a former Whitewater independent counsel, CNN legal analyst Michael Zeldin, Robert Mueller's former special assistant at the DOJ, legal analyst Laura Coates, and former federal prosecutor Renato Mariotti, who is running for Illinois Attorney General. I thank you all for joining us this evening. This is a very important subject. It's big breaking news. Michael, first, what is your reaction to this story tonight?
Well, you know, it's a hard thing to sort of digest. The President of the United States is trying to fire the special counsel who's investigating him, and we don't understand exactly what it is that the president is motivated by in order to do this. That's, for me, the biggest mystery is, what is it that he's so afraid that Mueller will find? We know in Nixon that Nixon didn't want to give up the tapes because the tapes were so incriminating that when they were given up, he was going to lose the office of the presidency. What we can't figure out here is, what is it that the president is so afraid of here with respect to Mueller? Or, alternatively, is it just that he so detests the notion of being investigated that whoever holds that position is going to find themselves in his crosshairs? And this is just, you know, sort of almost a childlike response to someone who's bullying him in his estimation. I just don't know, Don.
Not only did the president order the firing, but, you know, Mueller learned this through his own investigation. You know Mueller. How do you think he reacted to this news, Michael?
Well, so the question is, how does this fit into an obstruction of justice analysis? Because that's what this relates.
Well, does he ask him
to.
now? Does he ask him now, why did you try to fire me?
Well, I don't know if he asks that exact question, but what he does is he understands that in June he was going to be fired for made-up reasons. The conflict of interest that was going to be the basis for the firing is not real. So then Mueller has to say, let's look at the actions of the president thereafter to determine what his state of mind was with respect to them. Because in order to prove obstruction of justice, you have to have an intent to obstruct justice. And so this gives Mueller the opportunity to look, in a sense, into the mind of the president and analyze his actions in light of that now known fact that he wanted to fire him. So I think it'll be informative of the president's, of Mueller's review of the president's actions when he comes down to the interview.
Mm-hmm. Robert, what do you think about the president nearly firing Robert Mueller, especially when you consider the reaction when he fired James Comey?
I mean, seriously, this is a bunch of speculation and a whole bunch of ridiculous nonsense. I mean, I understand the now supposed mosaic theory of obstruction of justice. Nobody during Watergate claimed that Richard Nixon committed obstruction of justice in firing Archibald Cox. That was not the obstruction piece. And again, the notion that the president obstructs justice by firing the FBI director or seeking to fire the special counsel, frankly, I think is not only not really news, it's not surprising. No president, nobody likes to be under investigation. You don't think Bill Clinton wanted to get rid of me when I was the independent counsel? I mean, like, newsflash, hello.
You think he ordered people to get rid of you? You don't think that Kenneth Starr would wonder why he would order someone to get rid of you if he had nothing to hide?
Look, the essence of judgment is understanding that that would not have been productive to do. If the president wanted to have somebody fired, the president knows how to fire somebody. The fact that it didn't happen, frankly, is the story. The story is not that he ordered it to happen. The story is that he made a judgment not to fire him.
Renato, go ahead.
No, it's Michael.
I've got to say, I've got to say, I'm surprised that a lawyer is saying what was just said a moment ago. I mean, the fact that something didn't succeed is completely irrelevant under criminal law. So first of all, I mean,
that has nothing to do with anything. I mean, yes, that's certainly true, but that doesn't turn that fact into into a fact leading to obstruction of justice.
Well, actually, what it does is it suggests his intent, and really, what I think is most informative about this is he had a desire to fire the special counsel after he already knew he was under investigation for obstruction of justice for firing Comey. He already knew he had liability.
So what?
He already knew.
So what?
What do you mean, so what?
It's the president of the United States. He has the absolute right to fire the FBI director, and he has the absolute right to fire for any reason.
So you're telling me if the president of the United States fired someone as a result of a bribe, that would be lawful?
That's different. Okay, that's different.
That's a corrupt purpose. This is another corrupt purpose. The corrupt purpose.
You guys are all. I understand this is wishful thinking by the Democratic Party. You're all dreaming.
Excuse me, first of all, excuse me, sir, but Mario, I have to share my bewilderment with you, and this is not a partisan issue from where I'm coming from, and neither is anyone else on this panel. So it's not a dismissive connotation about being a Democrat or Republican.
Sure,
frankly, there's 2 points here. Number one, it appears from what you're reporting is that the president may believe that Archibald Cox is a red-headed comic book character as opposed to somebody who can give you past his prologue,
just disparaging.
number one.
That's not
and number two,
that's a poor excuse for an argument, and you know better.
I will finish
you know
my
better.
point.
Stop.
The volume of your voice is neither persuasive or respectful and does not match my persuasion at all. Number two, the point is this. Obstruction of justice is simply not the end game. To talk about this as a conscious effort of obstruction is but part of the inquiry that Mueller is engaged in. The larger issue is, what would be the thing you are trying to obstruct or obfuscate? That is the nature of Mueller's argument. That is the nature of Mueller's investigation. So to be so dismissive, frankly, is baffling.
No, it's not baffling. The last point is the only point that you've made that makes any sense. That actually is relevant. The issue about
your condescension actually is quite improper, and both of my points had quite
again. That's an excuse for an argument. Get to the point. The point is,
hang on, hold on.
No,
we all need to be respectful of each other, so we shouldn't name call and be rude.
And
Robert,
Don, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's my point. And I want to just be very clear that it may be your MO to be disparaging the people who share your panel.
Do you have a point?
But it does not.
Robert.
Yes. And my point is this. The volume of your voice and the tone you're taking,
I think you are
accustomed.
What's your
point? You're perhaps accustomed to that being persuasive,
don't be rude.
or accustomed to that carrying some weight. But your argument that is based on a logical and legal fallacy is what I addressed, what Mario talked about, what I'm sure Michael will talk about momentarily.
It's not either a logical or legal fallacy. It is, in fact, if you want to talk about a relevant question, the relevant question is whether or not you think an attempt to fire the special counsel would constitute obstruction of justice. There isn't anything else relevant to talk about.
Go ahead, Michael.
Robert, that's not correct, in my estimation. Where we disagree is it may not be in and of itself an obstruction of justice chargeable offense to order your White House counsel, to order the Deputy Attorney General to fire the special counsel when there's no good reason under the statute to do that. That may not. Excuse me.
I don't think Richard Nixon
let him finish.
Excuse me,
had a good reason to fire Archibald Cox.
Robert, you have to let the man finish or the woman finish before you interject, because then we will let you respond. But people can't make their points if you're so rudely interrupting them all the time. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Let's hear it. Right. I'm waiting.
All right. You know what? We'll wait a little longer. We'll take a break. We'll come back. But please don't be rude. All right?
I hear you.
I'm saying all right.